Welcome, everyone. This is the Specialist Ranking. This is the first ever episode in a series that's brought to you by the founder of the feast, Austin at SPC Unleashed, where we're going to rank 5 action sci-fi franchises. So this is Terminator, Planet of the Apes, Robocop, Alien, and Predator. Some of my favorite franchises of all time. So grab some popcorn, get a drink, and let's talk about these 5 franchises. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to BACKTRACK Cinema. My name is Jason, and this is where we talk movies of the past that you know and love. So like I said in my intro, guys, this is the Specialist Ranking, the Action Sci-Fi Edition. This is brought to you by Austin at SPC Unleashed. So I'm just someone he asked to participate in this. And you guys know me. I love these franchises, so I just had to. And so you got Austin doing this, me doing this, and Nic Cooling from the Movie Ranker doing this. Austin gave us the date of August 31st, so here we are. So go check out their videos after you've checked out mine. And yeah, this is going to be a lot of fun, guys. If you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any content coming up. And just let's get right into it. Coming in at number 32 is Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines. I do not like this movie. This movie comes off like a spoof, a mockery of the Terminator franchise. I just can't take that. I don't like slapstick. I don't like spoofs. Everything in this movie I feel like is just to set up gags and humor. Not that there wasn't any humor in T2. There was with John Connor and Arnold. But just, executed and done in a different way, not slapsticky. The girl Terminator enlarging her breasts, saying, "I like your gun, I like your car." It's just absolutely horrendous dialogue, horrendous performance. I really just don't know what they were thinking of this movie. This movie retreads T2 a lot, like a lot of these Terminator films do, but this is executed horribly. It's cast horribly. The only good thing in this movie is some of the action scenes. And Claire Danes. Her performance is pretty good, pretty intense. Because the movie's tone is so off, her performance just doesn't fit. And Nick Stahl as John Connor, I can't stand. This is going to be one of the biggest miscasts I have ever seen. I mean, here they are running for their lives in this movie. John Connor, you know who he was raised by, Sarah Connor. He bumps into a guy, smashes his car a bit, and then he's trying to apologize to the guy. The moment this guy mouthed back to John Connor would have took this guy out. This is going to be the biggest wussy version of John Connor I've ever seen. I just can't stand it. And Arnold looks completely uninterested in this movie. I do like seeing the machines rise at the end of this movie and kind of the way it ends. I kind of like, there's nothing wrong with a female Terminator, but the way they executed in this is just terrible. I just can't get into this movie. I just can't. And for that, it sits here. Coming out number 31 is Beneath the Planet of the Apes. So this is the sequel to the original Planet of the Apes. And a lot of these old Planet of the Apes movies were my first time watch. And this one I just don't think I'll ever return to again. It makes a huge mistake of retreading that first original Apes movie where they're reintroducing us to this world. We got a character who's, just like Charlton Heston. So it's rewalking us through that first movie again, even to the point where the camera's looking at him and he sees the city of apes and he goes, "It's a city of apes." You know what I mean? It's like Predator 2, kind of, which we'll talk to later down on this list. It's like, in Predator 2, it would be like us walking through everything again that we saw in the original Predator movie. Predator 2 gets it to it quicker. That's what we needed from this underground society of, humans who are telepathic. It was just awful. It was kind of shocking when they took their masks off and they're all, deformed and stuff, but and they're praying to a freaking missile and everything. This movie just had really stupid ideas and just going over things we've already seen before. Coming at number 30 is Robocop 3. Now, this was a first time watch as well, and I did kind of like the setup of the movie. OCP still trying to build their Delta City and moving all these people out of their homes and forcing them out of their homes, and a revolution begins. And you got Lewis and Robocop, trying to keep justice everywhere. But the movie falls apart after the first act, though. And, they kill Lewis in it, which I was like, you know, she wasn't that built up of a character anyway. Just no moment in the movie where we got to breathe and you really feel that emotion, because Robocop's supposed to be, you know, he goes after the people who did it. And I thought her character deserved more justice than that. And clearly they didn't have a budget. It does feel like a TV movie. It's not a very good Robocop. It doesn't have very good villains. It gets really cheesy and everything like that, although there are some good ideas in it. Coming at number 29 is the remake of the Planet of the Apes. So this is Tim Burton doing the remake of the original Planet of the Apes. And I just, you know, when I first watched this in the theater, I was enjoying it until that ending. It has one of the worst endings you'll ever see in cinema. In fact, it's known for how bad its ending is. This movie just feels really lifeless to me. It's going through a lot of the beats of the original movie, but there's no social commentary and when you go through those back to those old Apes movies, there's some really good social commentary, even in the not so good movies. And there was nothing of that here. They graze over things with the humans and the apes, but they just go for that summer blockbuster kind of fun. We got Mark Wahlberg in the lead, and this is a young Mark Wahlberg, and I thought he was okay. I like some of the villains in it. I thought Michael Clark Duncan and Tim Roth were really good in it. Obviously, the makeup and the practical effects are really good. I felt like this ape society was almost more human-like rather than the original, where it had a really unique ape society, like just what they were wearing, where they lived, and how everything played out. This movie feels nothing like a Tim Burton movie. He has a certain style and everything, and I didn't feel any of that was in there. They have the humans talking in this, so like I get it, you're reimagining it, you're doing something different, but if the humans could talk, that means they're showing signs of high intelligence, and they wouldn't be under the ape's control like that. It just didn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, and that freaking ending with the monkeys in the cop uniforms, Abraham Lincoln was just silly, and I can't get past it. Coming at number 28 is The Predator. Now, this was just a mess of a film, an absolute mess. Studio meddling, Shane Black's vision not getting fully realized. The characters are absolutely stupid in this movie. The comedy does not work for me at all. There are some entertaining scenes with the Predator, you know, mostly the classic Predator. I'm just not big on like bigger predators killing little predators and all this kind of stuff. These big predators trying to perfect themselves. The predator race would already look at themselves as superior to anything they're hunting. So I just can't buy into that. They do have a kind of a cool idea that I do like about something about, you know, autism being the next stage in human evolution. There's a good idea in there. If the little kid in this movie outsmarted this predator and everything, but it's just the execution of it all. Like I think there is a good idea in there. I just don't know how you'd execute that properly. And some of the dialogue is so bad in this movie. I know the whole third act I think was reshot, and things just feel messy, and they feel like there's incomplete things here, and there's just. Movie is all over the place structurally. I do like that they give you the gore, and I think our lead actor's pretty good. I think what we see of the classic Predator, it's pretty good. But yeah, this is just this movie doesn't work for me. Now, coming at number 27 is Terminator GENISYS. No, I do think there is some fun to be had in here. I do like the relationship between, you know, Pops and Sarah Connor, and I do commend them for, you know, trying to recreate the first movie, like what we get from the first movie, and you seeing the T-800 face off against T-800 and the T-1000. I do like the whole beginning where we see Reese go back in time, see what happened before he arrived and everything like that, but it's just way too polished and it looks too clean when this world is grim and dark and dirty and grimy, you know what I mean? So, and I like that they did some things different. Instead of going back in the past, they're traveling from 1984 into the future. Again, they making John Connor this bad guy. I'm just like, what are you doing? What is this? The movie feels like just a really big piece of fan fiction, or the biggest budget fan film you've ever seen, right? And I think Jay Courtney is a horrible Kyle Reese. I think the character is all wrong in this. Even Sarah Connor, I don't think she's fantastic. I don't think she's okay, but I get to like her as the movie progresses. So I will say that I find this movie I'm just checking out. Coming at number 26 is Robocop 2, and this is everything you don't do with a sequel. They don't build on anything in this movie. They don't build on the character work. We don't get to know more about RoboCop. What they do is they do have something interesting, and they just completely drop it, where he's going to see his wife all the time, kind of like spying on her. You know what I mean? Looking at her through the street and stuff like that, waiting in his car. And I'm like, that was some interesting stuff, but they just abandoned it, and then it goes right into plain fun action movie. There are some pretty good action sequences with RoboCop on the motorcycle, and he's hanging off the van, of this, the drug dealer guy, Kane, who's dealing out this drug called Nuke, you know what I mean? And then they put him as RoboCop 2, this drug dealer. I go, that is got to be the stupidest decision I've ever seen. But I remember me and my buddy watching this as kids, and we really had a good time with it. And one thing that still stands out that I remember is the kid gangster. I always thought this kid was funny as hell with all his colorful metaphors. He's loading his gun. He's like, shit. He's like this. It was just jarring at the time of him swearing and him having this power where he takes over this freaking drug operation. I'm like, that it was always just really funny to me, this kid, you know what I mean? The RoboCop 2 suit, it's dated as hell. The effects are dated, and you don't even see the guy's face in the RoboCop. It's on a monitor, like this TV screen, and you see this really bad CGI, or I don't know, computer animation. It's pretty bad. Like, the movie's not good, but there are moments in it that I did have fun with. Coming out at number 25 is Alien 3. Now, this was the first time I watched the assembly cut, and I will say that cut is better. It's really hard to get into a movie where you kill Hicks and Nude off. I get it. It's to serve Ripley's story. They went for a really dark, what if everything was taken away from her after everything she accomplished in Aliens. They do this, and it's really hard to get into the movie. Now, I do like the cinematography. I like the darkness of it. I like them on this prison planet where it's all these criminals, and the idea that they have no guns, so they have to fight this dog alien with no guns. Oh, actually, the assembly cut, it's like, I think, comes from a cow, which is kind of interesting too. But it does have one of the best shots in the whole franchise, actually, when that alien is just hovering over Ripley and she's against the wall, and it's, it could smell the little alien side of her and everything like that. But it's like it's just hard to get into this movie. I appreciate David Fincher's style. It's too bad that he wasn't allowed to do what he wanted to do. Too many cooks in the kitchen, I guess. And some really good building of tension. And again, they kill the doctor character. I was actually shocked when they killed him. Like, even this time, because I haven't seen it in years, I liked this character, and I felt there was no reason to kill his character. And he was like the best character in the movie besides Ripley. Coming at number 24 is Alien Resurrection. Now, there is some fun to be had in this movie. It's a good ensemble piece with Winona Ryder and Ron Perlman, and Ripley's like this. They've cloned Ripley. I do like that because it allows her character to be different. She's more aggressive. There's some weird shit in this movie. Tonally, it's all over the place, and that's my biggest problem with it, is the tone is all over the place. There's some real campy dialogue and real campy kind of characters, and where it should have been a really serious movie, because, the aliens in the water, that was a really good action sequence, and they're on the ladder, and Buddy just Ron Perlman drops them, starts shooting them in the water and stuff. Really good sequences. It has this really dark moment, kind of unsettling moment, where Ripley walks into the room where it's all the failed experiments of them cloning her. So you got all these little, disgusting fetuses. You got this Ripley saying, "Kill me," she's still alive, and she's got she's all deformed and everything. And I think Sigourney Weaver puts in a really good performance here. Like I said, that's the tone is just all over the place, because then it gets campy and weird. There's been a lot of discussion on this new hybrid alien at the end. You know what I mean? It looks very weird. It's almost unsettling to look at. But, and Ripley's like doing some, Ripley's like got her hands on it and laying down with it. And it's pretty weird. But, there is some fun to be had here. Coming at number 23 is Escape from the Planet of the Apes. So this movie does the reverse of the original. This time we got the apes coming back to the past, which creates this time loop. We got Cornelius and Zira. and another ape who come over, and it's like the 70s. So this time we get these human reactions to these intelligent apes. The problem with the movie, it just drags and drags, and it's very, very slow until we get them actually escaping. There's this one doctor who wants to kill Cornelius and Zira because that way the apes will never rise. You're seeing the groundwork of how the apes rose because of what Charlton Heston went into the future, blew up this planet, causes Zira and Cornelius to come to Earth. The movie starts picking up near the end where they're actually escaping, and I love seeing Ricardo Montalban in this. I'm a big Star Trek fan, so him being Khan in Star Trek 2. So he's like the zookeeper. So that was a really cool thing. And there's some cool twists at the end here. But a bleak ending and kind of a bleak movie. You know what? I was like shocked at the ending of this. So those of you that haven't seen it, you'll know what I mean when you actually see it. It asked this really cool question in this movie. If you knew like Hitler was going to do all this bad stuff, but before he did it, would you kill him? Which relates to the apes rising. Like, to prevent these apes from rising, would you be able to kill them? And at what cost would you do that at? I like questions like that. And a lot of these ape movies have those questions in it. But if you haven't seen this one, you definitely have to check it out because the ending's fantastic. A little bit of twist ending there. And, you know, I was kind of surprised by a lot of these original Apes movies. Coming at number 22 is Alien versus Predator. Now, like a lot of people, I think this is kind of a fun movie, but I also think, you know, the PG rating doesn't help it any. I get it. They were going after kind of a target audience, but this kind of stuff would have been a lot better with an R rating. I'm not overly big on the look of the Predators in this. Like, I like the action that they dish out, but they just look like they're gigantic in this. And according to the narrative, they're supposed to be, you know, teenagers. So I don't know. I've never been big on their look. I like the idea of them teaming up with a human when this human kills an alien. She gets respect from the Predator. I'm not really big on this backstory. It doesn't make sense within the Alien franchise with the timeline and everything. So it is more like a piece of fan fiction, but they give this backstory and the period, like way back in human civilization where we're like worshiping predators and they're like gods. I'm just not really big on that storyline. I haven't read the comics on AVP, but I think they've handled and executed this storyline much better. I think the Queen alien is pretty cool. You know, the practical effects in that. Like I said, some of the action sequences, I just think the characters, again, I think sometimes this movie's too funny, but I do like Lance Hendrickson in it, but he's always good in this franchise. Coming at number 21 is Robocop, the remake. Now, on first watch, I thought this was a pretty generic movie, but you know, when I recently just watched it, I kind of liked this one. I thought everything that the original Robocop didn't do as well, they did better in this, and vice versa. Everything that wasn't very good in this movie, the original Robocop did better. I like how there's better character work with Alex Murphy in this, where you get to see his family. You get to see him try to integrate himself back with his family. You get to see his human side still very much a part of him. OCP reprograms him to make him more like a machine rather than his human side, which makes him like kind of heartless and showing no mercy. And I like how the wife is trying to draw his humanity back, right? Trying to bring him back. And it plays with ideas with national security and privacy. And, you know, because this Robocop can, you know, access any camera, access any file, access anybody. So it plays with, you know, the questions it asks with that. This could have been a bloodier movie, though. It should have been rated R. There should have been a lot more action involved in it. I feel like it spends way too much time with the setup of this movie, even though I do like a lot of the character work. I think we could have got there quicker and gave us some really explosive summer blockbuster action that we're used to seeing in these kind of movies. Coming at number 20 is AVP Requiem. Now, I really enjoy this movie. I think it's has one of the greatest predators in the wolf predator, where, you know, the alien predator hybrid we saw from the previous movie has come down and it's wreaking havoc all in this town. I don't mind the town setting, actually. Seeing this predator trying to clean up the mess of everything, I think is really cool. It gives us a lot of characters that I'm really not interested in. I think you could have dropped all the teenagers for the most part and just left it with, you know, the army girl character coming home to her husband. I thought some of that was good. And some of them, the more mature adult characters, I think were okay. Of course, the biggest problem with the movie, you can't see anything. Like, no one brought a light on set or something like that. When I was watching this, it was like, it is too bad this is so dark, because some of these action sequences, the R rating is very good, but you just can't see anything. I get they were going for this certain atmosphere, but man, you could have brightened it up a bit, and because you're hiding all the great makeup, all the great costume design, all that great stuff you're hiding. So I just don't understand it. I could still watch this one, adjust your TV set a bit, watch it in the dark or something like that. Try to adjust the lighting, put in some editing software, try to brighten it up. And it can really work, I think. And I think it's a good time. I have a lot of fun with this because of the action and how great the fight scenes actually are, even though we can't really see them that much. And I get the character situation, what they're trying to do. It almost felt like they're doing a Jaws thing where, let's focus on these characters. Let's have a monster movie with great characters. But the characters in Jaws are just so good, where these characters, they're not that entertaining. They're not great. That's just what it comes down to. But I have a lot more fun with this one than I do AVP. Coming at number 19 is Predators. This is a film I do enjoy. I like how they kind of went back. We're in the jungle again. You get a lot of the same beats as the original Predator, except for they're on like a game preserve. They're on some other planet where these predators hunt. And the way the movie starts, the movie starts right away with, Adrian Brody falling from the sky, right? And then we collect characters along the way as we go on this little journey. But again, I'm just not big on predators hunting other predators. It's not my thing with this with the Predator franchise. I don't know, I just don't like that angle. I think it could be good, but it's just not executed very well in The Predator, or nor is it executed really well in this movie. Another big complaint I hear is how miscast Adrian Brody is. He's actually never bothered me in this movie. I think he's fine. He's clearly doesn't have the charisma or the swagger and everything of Arnold or anything, but I didn't mind it at all. I thought Lawrence Fishburne was a bit over the top, and when we get to Lawrence Fishburne's character, I think it really slows the movie down. Although you get a really good scene after that where you see the Predator rip Walter Gogin's spine out. That was really cool. Another big problem I have this movie, that it's near the end. I love how they go and they set the classic Predator free. And I was like, oh, here we go. They're building, you can see them building this up to, it's going to take out these predators. They're going to team up with the classic Predator, and the classic Predator is going to take out these other ones. And then the classic Predator just gets killed, like, pretty quickly too. I wanted more of a fight. I wanted him to take out at least one of them. I know it's supposed to be, Adrian Brody's story and everything, but I felt like they were building up to that. And then when that happened, I was just like, oh, are you kidding me? Guess I'm just a fan of the classic Predator. I don't know. But I do like the way this film is shot. The music's pretty good in it. And overall, I think it is an enjoyable film. I just have some little nitpicks with it. Coming at number 18 is Battle for the Planet of the Apes. Now, this is a movie, these original Ape sequels, a lot of these surprised me because I heard these were dumpster fires. Stay away from these movies. These movies are terrible. Only the original is the best. Always watch a movie for yourself, man. You have to. You can't listen to other people. You can't listen to media. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. You could see a lot where the new trilogy of Apes movies was really drawing on, or was really taking the best parts of these. I'm not saying this movie's fantastic or anything, but there was some really good stuff in here where you got the humans and the apes living together after what we saw in Conquest, where the apes rose. So you got them both trying to live as a society, and they bring back the nuclear men, the underground society of humans and beneath. We see them here where they're deformed a bit. They've been affected by, the radioactive material from the nuclear bombs and stuff. So, so they want to come and destroy the apes. And then there's an uprising with this gorilla named Aldo, who's kind of like Koba from the new trilogy. And, again, the movie gets pretty bleak. We find Aldo's responsible for the death of Cornelius, which is Caesar's son, where he cuts him out of a tree, he falls, and a great line in this movie where he's like, his son's dying in front of him. He's like, "Father, father," and Caesar says, "One day you will be as tall as a king." I just thought that was a great line. I didn't think I was going to get that emotional. It was a really emotional scene. And then we end with Aldo and Caesar facing off on top of a tree, fighting each other. And I just was surprised by this movie. You can clearly see that they did not have the budget in this movie. Like, this is very made for TV. The battle looks like it's just, a scrimmage. It should have been called Scrimmage for the Planet of the Apes, because that's what it looks like because of the budget. But after I did some research and some reading with inflation, if you were to make a Planet of the Apes movie now, it'd be like giving somebody 12 million, go make a Planet of the Apes film. Like, they just cut the budget on this movie completely. As they went on, those original sequels, they were cutting the budget all the time. But yeah, just, I was surprised by this one. I really enjoyed it. Coming at number 17 is Terminator Dark Fate. Now, I know a lot of people despise this movie, but I don't really hate it. I think I had a good time with it. I think it's a really serviceable, pretty good action movie. I think Sarah Connor, Linda Hamilton's performance is really good in it. It plays on themes that we did see in T2, because we find this Terminator Carl who kills John at the beginning of this movie, and that's where a lot of people just completely check out. But they've mistreated John Connor so much in this franchise. I mean, it starts with Terminator 3, man. Blame that movie. I was like, okay, this is where we're going with this, then show me what you got, you know what I mean? And then it plays with this idea, what if a Terminator completed its mission, it had no other orders? How would it learn? And that's what we saw in Terminator 2 with John Connor teaching him. So if this Terminator would have been around people, in this case, he kind of gets this, this family. I will say him being a curtain guy or a drapes guy or whatever is kind of silly. I mean, my good buddy Caleb from the Dark Ether Files podcast mentioned this, what it would have been good if he was like, he owned a gun shop or something like that. And that's actually a good idea. Why not? A Terminator owning a gun shop. You could still show that he's becoming more human and that he's understanding more human emotions, but it would explain why he has all the guns too. He has the little thing of guns and everything. But I just really like Sarah Connor's character arc. What would happen if Skynet completed its mission by killing John? And what would Sarah Connor's life be like? And, the pain she goes through, the guilt, she couldn't save her son. And I just love a lot what they do here. Again, the retreading T2. I'm not big on Danny's character. I don't know, lack of charisma, whatever I find I get to like her like near the end. By the time the movie's over, I get to like her a bit more. But I love Grace in this movie. I like the action in the movie. There's some pretty jarring CGI here and there. Not the way I would have took another Terminator film. I'm not big on the Rev 9 either. I mean, this the way it can separate itself from its endoskeleton, I just thought it just didn't make sense to me. I don't know. I don't mind the actor who played the Rev 9. I thought he was okay, but it was just the whole concept of the Rev 9 I wasn't big on. I understand the hate for this movie. I am completely there. I completely get it, but I just don't feel the same way necessarily. I could still pop this one on and still enjoy it. Coming at number 16 is the original Planet of the Apes. Now, I really enjoy this movie. I like how it takes its time with, Charlton Heston, crash landing on this planet, which we do find is actually Earth. Play on to Einstein's theory of relativity. They've been gone for 2 years, but on Earth, it's been 2,000 years, or, a lot of time has passed, and the ape society has risen. Jerry Goldsmith's score is pretty good. I like the primal sounds it goes for. They got some cool camera angles they use in this that make you feel really disorientated. And then, we get into this. I just love spending time in this world where it's this planet of apes, and they've grown into a society, and they have their own racial prejudices. They have their own racial issues, even with each other, like even with chimpanzees and gorillas and orangutans. And we find like chimpanzees are scientists, and the gorillas are the warmongers. You know what I mean? And humans can't talk. It's forbidden to draw. And when they find that the Charlton Heston can talk, it raises all these issues within their society. And I really like the social commentary, everything of the dangers of nuclear warfare. Yes, this is really much a movie that you watch and you like clearly see this is for a 60s audience with, the threat of nuclear war, with all the social commentary it's telling you, and how much the apes are not that far from us, where the people in their hierarchy are keeping things from them, truths from them, so that humans won't rise again, keeping humans a Neanderthal level, a low intelligence level. And I just really like everything. It's just really good science fiction to me. And, it's thought provoking for me. The makeup and everything for its time, and even now, I still like it. I think the makeup's great. I think Kim Novak as Zira and Roddy McDowall as Cornelius, I think are really good performances. And that classic twist ending. It's been over 50 years, people, so I'm spoiling it for you anyway, where he's been on Earth this whole time. He sees the Statue of Liberty. So yeah, I really like Planet of the Apes. Coming at number 15 is Conquest of the Apes. I really liked this movie, and after I thought about it for a while, I even liked it even more. So this one comes after Escape from the Apes, where it's been 20 years later. It's somewhere in the 90s, and Caesar's all grown up, and he's very intelligent, which he's the offspring of Cornelius and Zira, and he was raised by the zookeeper Armanda, by Ricardo Montalban. And when Cornelius and Zira came over, they brought a disease with them, basically, that took out all the pets, like the cats and the dogs. Humans replaced their household pets with apes. Kind of a concept I'm like, I don't think that would happen, but you suspend disbelief. I'll go with it. Humans have learned that the apes learn at such a rate that they start using them as slaves to do their housework, to do all their, everyday duties. And humans have just become freaking lazy slave drivers, basically. And when we get Caesar, he sees all this, he sees all these apes, being treated as slaves and everything. And he kind of yells out one of them, "You lousy freaking humans," or something like that. This is the inciting incident that happens, that it's basically what, the new trilogy, what Rise is. You see the apes rise from the humans, and Caesar frees everyone. And the movie gets really freaking dark when the revolution starts. They got freaking machetes and they got knives and they're out just killing humans. Apparently there's an uncut edition of this where you see a lot of blood and everything like that. But you see this revolution happen, and it feels like freaking Dawn of the Dead Romero style. It's really good. It's really dark. It's really bleak. And then Roddy McDowall as Caesar gives this great speech at the end of this, how, we're going to have our own society, apes are going to rise, and, apes don't kill apes.
I will lead my people from their captivity, and we shall build our own cities in which there will be no place for humans except to serve our ends, and we shall found our own armies.
Really laying the beginnings of the groundwork of what we see the societies become in the original Planet of the Apes. But this one was great. I really liked it. This is one I'll be rewatching quite a bit, I think. It has that social commentary. Who deserves this world more? The racial injustice. You know what I mean? I really enjoyed this one. Good stuff. Coming at number 14 is Terminator Salvation. Now, I really like this movie. I think it's a really solid action flick where we finally see the Terminator franchise in the future war with John Connor, and he's got to find Kyle Reese. And you just pretty much get a good battle against Skynet and the character of Marcus Wright, who is basically Skynet's first infiltrator. Yeah, he doesn't know he's a machine and stuff like that, which the trailer kind of gives that information away. So when you go see this for the first time, if you've seen the trailer anyway, you're going to know that. And it's clearly they were setting it up as a surprise. I think Christian Bale is a pretty good John Connor. I think he brings a really good intensity to it. I wasn't so convinced on Anton Yelchin as Kyle Reese, but I think he was okay. And I think there should have been when they meet for the first time, Connor and Reese, I think that should have been a moment where you could really breathe and really soak it in. They were trying to push the action while they were doing this. And I absolutely love the third act in this film where John Connor's running from a T-800 through the factory where they're built. I thought it paid a lot of homage to the end of the original Terminator. And the movie, at the heart of it, it's just really about, giving up something giving up your life for someone else, you know, giving yourself a sense of purpose. I really appreciate a lot of the practical effects they used in it. I just really wish we would have got the second, because this obviously was a planned trilogy. I wish we would have got a second and a third one to see where this was going, to back end into the original movie. So yeah, I love it. Coming at number 13 is the original Robocop. Now, I have a lot of nostalgia for this movie. Me and my buddy would watch this movie again and again and again. And it's not so much Robocop, it's not so much Peter Weller that is the highlight of this movie. I think he actually is just okay in it. In fact, it was actually Michael Ironside who was supposed to be Robocop, but his frame was too wide for the suit. And I think, you know, there would be something there because Michael Ironside's deep voice would have made Robocop, I think, stand out a little better. Why this movie stands out is that satire on America's pop culture in the 80s, the over-the-top violence. The villains are absolutely freaking great in this movie. I absolutely love Kurtwood Smith as the villain in this. He stole this movie. You're just really having fun with this role, being unapologetically bad. And the religious symbolism in it, I really like. The Frankenstein-style story. This man's being put back together, and he, you know, he just doesn't fit into this world no more when he starts remembering things. And like he said, I could feel my family, but I just don't remember. It's kind of sad, you know what I mean? But that religious symbolism of, you know, Robocop becomes like a savior of the city, cleaning up the crime. And when Alex Murphy's getting shot to death, which is brutal, it's almost like, you know, he's being crucified like Jesus, right? And then at the end, when you see him as Robocop, you see him walking on water. I like what Paul Verhoeven was trying for there. That symbolism, I thought it was really good. And the social commentary on the capitalism and corruption, you know, them wanting to build this Delta City, you know, they privatized the police force, you know what I mean? And it's like, that is never a good idea. So you see like the police on strike, and just chaos ensues. I think Lewis, like Robocop's partner, she really needed more attention, a lot more to do, because she made the call to go into this building alone, which led to Alex Murphy's death. And I think, you know, there would have been a lot of guilt with her, and I think they should have fleshed her story out a lot more too. Like, she could have been a real pivotal character in this and the other sequels. Coming at number 12 is Prey. I really like what they did with Prey, taking Predator back to its roots, taking it to a different place in time. I believe it was the late 1700s, around this girl, you know, a Native American tribe, you know, trying to prove herself. But it's not taking her story and cramming it down her throat and saying girl power. It does it in a pretty authentic way. I love historic movies. I like how it has a real Western feel to it with these nice wide shots. I'm not overly big on the look of the Predator. I do like what the Predator's doing though, where when he first get there, he's hunting rabbits, then he moves his way up to a wolf or coyote or something like that, and then a bear, which the bear scene was pretty awesome. And I like how she outsmarts the Predator again. You know, I like that they do that in this movie, like the way, you know, Dutch did it in the first movie, where it wasn't about his muscle or his brawn, it was about his intelligence. There was some fan service in here that I think was not needed. Like, if it bleeds, we can kill it. Like, I didn't think they needed to put all that in there, because I thought this story was good enough just on its own. But the action's really good. I really like the characters. I think this movie Hollywood should look at and say, you know, you have a franchise dead in the water. I'm talking to you, Terminator. Look at what they did here. Go back to its roots and try to give us a new story. Coming out at number 11 is Prometheus, the prequel to Alien. This was missold, I think. This is like pure science fiction kind of movie, and not... I think everyone expected they were going into an Alien movie, but this is more science fiction, where it's asking the big questions, very thought-provoking. Creation and the creator and the created, and, you know, faith versus science, and a lot of good stuff to chew on in this. I absolutely love this movie. I love the character of Shaw. I love David. David's this android who's got a lot of human emotion to him, who's learning at a fast rate, who looks at himself as superior than humans, and is obsessed with, you know, creation and being the creator. And looking at that first original Alien movie and seeing the space jockey and seeing what they were and everything like that, the movie asks a lot of questions. it leaves you with a lot of questions, but so did the original Alien movie. The original Alien movie did this. If that all you watched was the original Alien movie, you'd be you after you watch that, you'd be like, what are these alien things? What was that ship? What was this? It does the same thing. And seeing how the face hugger was born, the black goo substance that David gives to Shaw's husband, and then they have sex, so it passes on to her. She has a fetus, and that fetus grows, gets face hugs onto the engineer, and that's how we get our first xenomorph, so to speak. And I really like that. I really like the captain in this movie, and Charlize Theron's character I really like. And this movie looks absolutely gorgeous. Ridley Scott really knows how to shoot a film, man. And he's really good in the sci-fi genre. Now, Shaw's husband, he's like the only character in the movie I don't like. There's something feels so arrogant about him. He's the one who takes his helmet off, then everyone else takes their helmet off on this planet when they're like told not to. And then he starts acting kind of like a little baby when he didn't get to meet the engineers, the people who created humans. And then, he just starts, and then he insults his wife because she can't have a baby, and he insults her in a nonsensical way. Yeah, so he's a character I didn't enjoy, but yeah, I love Prometheus. All right, guys, we're in the top 10 now, and coming out number 10 is Predator 2. I absolutely love Predator 2. I think this movie, when it first came out, a lot of people thought it was such a step down, but you look at it now and it's a great action film. It really feels 90s. We got Danny Glover, we got Bill Paxton, we got Gary Busey. I love how there's some really good stuff with the Predator in here. The movie opens up great with a great action scene, and we already know what the Predator's about, so don't walk you through that again. I like how they had this element with Danny Glover's character where he's scared of heights and stuff like that. So it just adds a little bit more tension when he's up on these buildings and everything. They add stuff too about the Predator too, like when he's Danny Glover's mourning his friend that the Predator kills, and he kind of gives him his buddy's necklace back. The Predator had his buddy's necklace because the Predator actually respects Danny Glover, and he sees that he's in mourning. The Predator race, they're not machines or anything like that. They're hunters. They respect their adversaries. And I just really like that moment when that happens, grieving a fellow hunter. You know what I mean? So they add little things like that inside the Predator that I really like. And I like the added weapons and everything that Predator has. That's really cool too. And this is where we first, at the end, we see the face off on the ship. And this is where, Danny Glover plays Possum, and that's how he kills the Predator. And we see the alien skull. So this is where it introduces us to that the Alien franchise and the Predator franchise are in the same world. Now, coming at number 9 is Alien Covenant. Now, Ridley Scott gives you the boast of both worlds here. He gives you half Alien movie, half Prometheus movie. We get to see David's story. I'd like to see 10 more movies of David doing all this horrible freaking shit to people. I think this is a great flick. I think all the alien sequences are awesome. The one where the alien comes out of the guy's back, I think was actually a pretty riveting scene. And the CGI, honestly, it doesn't bother me. I was just really invested in this movie. We introduced another android, Walter, because it's 10 years later. These bunch of astronauts, scientists and stuff, are trying to find the new planet. And that's how they come to meet David. And David, all this time, has been doing all these experiments on Shaw, and he creates the alien egg. He leads people to their death. You never know to trust him or not. Like, Michael Fassbender just plays this character so well, and it's too bad we just not get to see the sequels to this, so Ridley Scott could back end into the original Alien. And another thing too, you see how David destroys the engineer. He becomes the creator now. He destroys life and is creating something new, a perfect organism, as we know. But I just find David this such a fascinating, interesting character that I just love to see more of him. Coming at number 8 is the original Alien. I mean, this movie, my dad been watching all my life. I mean, this movie came out the year I was born, and I'm more of an Aliens guy, as we'll see, but the original Alien is fantastic. It's got a really slow building of tension, slow camera work, great effects for its time. When that alien first comes out of John Hurt, it's still an amazing scene to watch. It still holds up to this day. And I like how they're just a bunch of these blue collar space jockeys kind of thing, almost like truck drivers in space. You know what I mean? Now, I think at times you notice that the alien's in a suit and some of that doesn't hold up a bit, but there's just so much tension and atmosphere with this movie that is pretty fantastic. And we don't even know yet until halfway through that, Sigourney Weaver's our final girl. And, the movie does play out like a slasher movie. I just really like how much Ripley really takes control of a situation and grabs the bull by the horns and tries to get them out of this situation. But the moment that everyone's killed off and she's alone, that's where I find the tension really amps up. All right, coming at number 7 is Rise of the Apes. This is the start of the new trilogy. I don't think any of us thought this movie was going to be as good as it is, because it's not just good, it's absolutely fantastic. Rise of the Apes. What a great origin story, and the way they tell this. I like all the motives of the characters, where James Franco is this scientist. He comes up with this way to treat Alzheimer's patients because his dad has Alzheimer's. You see them, playing God. This is what ends up wiping humanity out, is this concoction they made. And just seeing the growth of Caesar and the character development of this ape who's really smart, and he raises him. And then when Caesar becomes like in his teenage years, he doesn't feel like he fits anywhere. Then he gets rejected. Then he becomes this leader and starts this revolution. Just seeing how all this plays out, the beats it goes through, the acting performances are great. And that third act is fantastic, where he leads them into Muir Woods, releases all the apes from the zoos, from this lab. And, it's fantastic seeing the apes on a horse for the first time. And you see all the homages from the original Apes movies. You know what I mean? Like the way this movie opens, where they're capturing apes and nets and everything, is like what you see in the original Planet of the Apes, of the apes catching humans. So I really love all that. Andy Serkis' performance as Caesar, through the motion capture, he's really acting, and it's too bad he's not acknowledged for his performances like through the Oscars or anything like that, because it's motion capture. But he's fantastic in this. Coming at number 6 is War of the Planet of the Apes. Great way to wrap up this trilogy. Just absolutely loved it. I think a lot of people were expecting like a war movie, but there's a lot of things in here. There's some Spartacus in here. There's some Ben-Hur in here. It's like 10 Commandments. Caesar's kind of like this Moses figure who leads his apes into the promised land. You know what I mean? It's all about Caesar's internal struggle, the war inside himself, him saving his own soul, because they set up something at the beginning where his son and his wife get killed, and all that's left is the rest of the apes and him and his other son, Cornelius, who's just a little guy in this. And there's one point where it becomes like this Prison Break movie, where it's like The Great Escape, you know what I mean? Where the apes are all captured at a military post and they got to escape. And this time around, there's always 2 times in this movie where I almost shed a tear. There's one where this gorilla dies Luca for Caesar. And then we get a character that's set up like Nova from the original movie. She can't talk. She's this young blonde girl, and she's crying over the ape. Maurice, the orangutan, Caesar's best friend, where you get Rocket, Maurice, and the original characters, right? They're really good. They've been together ever since Rise, and he tells Caesar, this has got to stop. And, it's this, Caesar's quest for revenge. Saving his own soul. And at the end of the movie, where we find Caesar dying, but he's he saved all the apes, everything he did for the apes. You'll be a ball face, man. You'll shed a tear, man. This movie gets you close to shedding tears. So it's a great way the way Matt Reeves wrapped everything up.
Apes are strong, with or without me.
Coming at number 5 is Terminator 2. What can I say, man? One of the greatest sci-fi action movies ever. One of the greatest sequels. Absolutely love T2. I love the relationship between John Connor and the Terminator here, where he's teaching him how to understand humans, how to be more human. And Sarah Connor, she's just a badass, and she has a really good arc because she's completely losing her humanity. All she can see is, making John Connor, her son, into this leader, but she's just lost a piece of herself. She's lost the human side of herself, and the way John brings it back, I mean, that one scene where she's going to take out Dyson and, that line she gives, I've always loved you, John, I always have. And he's like, I know. And it's really, really great arc. And just the way everything to protect John in this. I just love seeing this movie play out. In the original movie, the fate was set. John becomes the leader. There's nothing you can do about it. It's just to protect. We got to protect. We got to make sure all this happens. In this movie, they try to change the future by blowing up Skynet and, in essence, making sure Skynet doesn't even exist, and thus saving the world. You know what I mean? And, with Sarah, too, she's always been about Sarah. This whole franchise has always been about her. The glimpse she has of the future, where she's having nightmares and shit like that, and just what that would do for a person. I just love this character so much. And James Cameron just handles everything so well in this movie. Robert Patrick as the T-1000 is just a great, great villain in this. You see a lot more emotion to him than the original Terminator, so it allows him to be a better infiltrator. And it has one of the best openings ever, where it takes place in the future and we see John Connor on the battlefield and all the Terminators running around, war and everything like that. And the ending where a Terminator learns the value of human life and puts himself in the lava and everything. Just fantastic. Coming at number 4 is Dawn of the Apes. Now, this is becoming like one of my favorite films of all time. It's easily my favorite modern movie of all time. I mean, I love this movie. It's a perfect sequel. This movie really shows how easy a war can start, how easily tensions can rise. And we get to see, the humans' perspective and the apes' perspective. The apes just want to be left alone up in their home, and the humans need this dam so they can have lights, so they can have power and everything like that. It's all about Caesar just trying to prevent a war from happening between the apes and humans. You see the commentary on the racism and, a movie very much about hate and who deserves this world more, the apes or the humans. Who is going to be better? And for the most part, with the apes, with Caesar, you see that he has rules, where the apes have knowledge, and ape never kills an ape, where we're just freaking destroying each other every chance we get. And has still a little something to say about gun control in a way, because we have this one character who shoots at an ape just because he's scared. So I really asked the question, well, should a guy like that have a gun? Should we not have some control on gun control? You could see why it's in place, you know what I mean? This is what builds this tension and gets this war started. You got Kova, who just sees the bad side of humans, where Caesar saw the good side of humans. And you got the human character, who's blames the apes for humans getting wiped out, when really it had nothing to do with the apes. Humans wiped humans out. And it has a lot of good human characters too, like the Jason Clarke's character, Kerry Russell's character. And you see moments where you see that there is hope for humans and apes to live in one society. And, it does the Empire Strikes Back thing, man. It just leaves you on this cliffhanger. The way you do a proper sequel, and it leaves it in, it's the darkest chapter. You know what I mean? Just a great flick, man. Great flick. Coming at number 3 is James Cameron's Aliens. Now, I just love this movie to death. I love the characters. I love the action. I just like how we find Ripley with this PTSD, and she ends up going back into the fight, back into the nest, so to speak. And one thing we learned on the special edition, that she lost a daughter, and, Newt replaces that, and it's like this, she gets a chance at motherhood again. And that end battle with the Queen Aliens, like a mother versus mother battle. And, the characters are great in this, with Vasquez, Hicks, Hudson. The action is absolutely fantastic. It's shot so good. James Cameron really is a good writer, and he knows, how to build the characters up first, build the tension. When he presses the gas for the action, it does not let up. And Aliens, fantastic, man. I just watch it so many times. Coming at number 2 is Predator. I absolutely love the original Predator. Clearly, it's number 2. Just one of the most manliest movies ever made. Great action in it. Great characters. And, there is some heart to it. I love that the characters of Blaine and Mac, and when Blaine dies and Mac saying goodbye to his friend, talking to the moon and stuff. And you got Great music in here. One of the best creature designs. And I just love it plays with several genres. You know, it goes from like, you know, horror and action. And then when it gets away from that 80s action feel and it goes into a survivalist movie, you know, there is some tension that happens there where Dutch becomes the predator and everything that predator did to him, he's doing to it. And that's how he beats it, with intelligence, with his brains and not his brawn. And, you know, what can I say, man? Just great characters, great action. But coming at number 1, guys, is the original Terminator. I am so invested in this story. I absolutely love the original Terminator. I just love that prologue at the beginning where it's like the final battle between the humans and machines would not be fought in the future, but in the past. What a great, unique story, sending a machine back in time to kill the mother's baby, who ends up being the resistance that wipes out, you know, the AI, the machines. Sarah Connor is just such a great character. She has such a great arc. Who goes from this damsel in distress to this really tough woman who destroys this machine at the end. And you believe it. You believe she's going to become that woman that Reese is talking about. And at the heart of it, it really is this love story that's masked as a sci-fi slasher action horror movie. Another one that goes through several different genres. And I think that's why it's so unique. I mean, that police station scene is just absolutely incredible, man. The way the Terminator's coming in, looking for Sarah, and it's just wiping out the cops everywhere. That music, again, the music is really great in this. And the way this movie ends, you know what I mean? Where we find out this soldier that came to protect Sarah is actually her son's father. And when she, at the end there, where she's talking about on the tapes and everything, and she's like, what she's thinking about, and then the kid takes the picture, and the picture reset. He goes, I always wonder what you're thinking at that moment, where she was thinking of him. So it just pulls everything together in the writing. The characters are great. I think the practical effects for its time are really, really awesome. And yeah, just one of my favorite films of all time. And the dangers of AI, Jamie Cameron really tapping into the dangers of artificial intelligence and our technology and where it could possibly lead, but it's all good entertainment, man, and I love the Terminator. Well, that is it, guys. That is the specialist ranking. I hope you really enjoyed it. I really appreciate you guys for watching. Please subscribe if you're new to the channel. Hit the like button. It really makes the channel grow. So please check out Nic's channel and Austin's channel and check out their videos of this too. And yeah, my name is Jason. You're watching Backtrack Cinema. I will see you next time, and I will see you in the movies. Cheers.